I woke up to her whispering on the phone, at night. She was out on the balcony, thinking I was asleep. I only heard one sentence. Not now. He's still home. That was the moment I knew something was broken. My name's Rick. At the time, I was 37 years old, married, working at a big company in Mapleton called Nexus Corporation. I handled technical documents, boring stuff like installation guides and service manuals. Not glamorous, but it paid well and I was good at it. My wife, Karen, and I were coming up on our 6th anniversary. On paper, everything should have been fine. Nice house, no major debts, and we were both employed again after some rough patches. But it wasn't fine. It hadn't been for a while. I couldn't put my finger on when it started feeling different. Maybe 6 months before that night, maybe longer. We'd been through a lot together. Both of us had survived brutal first marriages. I'd been cheated on by my first wife, Laura. Karen, same story. That pain, that humiliation was the thing that bonded us early on. We swore we'd never do that to each other. Ever. But people lie. Even to themselves. The night I heard that phone call, I pretended to stay asleep. I lay there in bed, heart pounding like I was the one cheating. My mind raced through possibilities. Maybe it was a friend, a relative, work? But no. That tone. That was guilt. It was the voice of someone sneaking around. I'd heard it before in Laura's voice, and now it was back. In my wife's mouth. That morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made her coffee. Kissed me on the forehead. Told me she had a busy day at the travel office and might be late again. Then she walked out the door in a blazer and heels, looking damn near flawless. Like always, Karen was beautiful, effortlessly so. She had this way of walking into a room and making people feel like they should straighten up. Classy, calm, put together. But that came with a cost. She kept her guard up 24/7. Even with me. We met years ago at work. Back then, I managed the tech docs department at Nexus. She was assigned to be my assistant, and at first she was ice cold. No makeup, hair always up, glasses too big for her face. But she was sharp, organized, and oddly charming once you got through the shell. We both came in burned from past marriages. Neither of us was looking for anything. But somehow we ended up together anyway. Quiet lunches turned into long walks. Laughs turned into kisses. A year later, I asked her to marry me. She said yes, but she made me promise one thing. No cheating, ever. I promised with everything I had. And for a long time, we were solid. We worked, we traveled, we had regular date nights. The physical side of our marriage was always good. But about a year ago, something shifted. The intimacy didn't stop, it just changed. Came in waves. Some weeks she was all over me. Other weeks she barely touched me. I didn't think too much of it at first. Work stress, hormones, life. Now I was rethinking everything. The weirdest part? She never mentioned any friends. So when she told me she'd be staying with a friend during one of her overnight work trips, I had nothing to compare that to. I couldn't name a single girlfriend of hers. That should have been a red flag. I just trusted her, which clearly was a mistake. The only light in all this was my daughter, Lily. She's 12. Lives with her mom. My ex, Laura. But we see each other every other weekend. We go out for ice cream, take walks in the park, build stuff out of Lego like we used to when she was younger. She's smart. Way too observant for her age. Last time she visited, she said something that stuck with me. You look sad, Dad. Not mad. Just sad. I told her I was just tired. She didn't buy it. Just gave me that look like she could see through me. That weekend, after the 3 a.m. phone call, I couldn't shake the feeling. I tried brushing it off, convincing myself it was nothing. But deep down I knew something was happening, and I wasn't ready for how far it would go. Losing your job is always a gut punch. But when it happens the same week you realize your wife might be cheating on you, that's a whole different level of hell. It was August 23rd. I walked into work thinking it'd be a normal day. A boring one even. I was already in what's the point mode, zoning out during meetings, doing just enough to keep things moving. I'd been feeling that way for a while. Not because I didn't care, but because I was distracted. By Karen. By the weird silence between us. By that late-night whisper I couldn't get out of my head. That morning, my manager Jason Vickers, guy had the charm of a cold sweat, called me into his office, told me to bring my laptop. That should have been the first clue. He smiled this corporate, rehearsed smile like he was about to hand me a gold watch. "Rick, we're restructuring," he said. "Tough times. Unfortunately, we're letting your position go. You'll get 2 weeks severance." Just like that. No warning. No conversation. No, "let's figure something out." Just a clean cut. He handed me some HR forms, watched me back up my personal files to a CD like it was 2003, then had 2 rent-a-cops escort me to my desk. One of them had gone to high school with me. We made awkward eye contact. The other one was all business, barking out no talking like I was a criminal. My assistant, Erin, was already packing up my stuff. She had tears in her eyes, and not the performative kind either, real ones. "I'm so sorry, Rick," she whispered. "He didn't even tell me. Just came in and said you were out." I nodded, tried to hold it together. I didn't want to cry in front of rent-a-cops and half the office. But the truth was, I wasn't even thinking about the job at that point. My brain had already jumped ahead to Karen. How the hell was she going to react? Turns out I gave her too much credit. I got home around 1 in the afternoon. No one there. I cleaned up the kitchen a little, printed out a few copies of my resume, and tried to look at job boards. It was bleak. Layoffs everywhere. The best-case scenario? A temp gig for half my old salary. When Karen walked in around 9 p.m., she looked pleased with herself, like she'd just closed a deal or won an argument I didn't know we were having. "I got let go today," I told her, straight out the gate. She raised her eyebrows. "Oh, that was it. No hug. No, are you okay?" No worry in her eyes. Just, "Oh." She poured herself a drink, bourbon, which she never touches, and said she'd already eaten. Then she went upstairs and slammed the bedroom door. I was left in the kitchen holding a cold leftover sandwich and 100 unanswered questions. It wasn't just her indifference. It was the vibe, the detachment. It felt like I was living with a roommate who hated me, not the woman I'd married. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to her snore upstairs like nothing had happened. The next day, something strange happened. Erin called me, not to check in, but with a plan. "Rick," she said, "I told Vickers I'd only take over your position if I could hire my own support. I told him UB, our doc group, needs 2 people or it doesn't function." I blinked. "What are you saying?" I told him I was hiring you back, as my assistant, on my terms. I sat there in stunned silence. This woman, who owed me nothing, had just gone to bat for me harder than my own wife ever had. "Erin, are you serious?" "As a heart attack," she said. "I know it's not ideal title-wise, but we both know you'll be running the show. It buys you time to find something better. And you keep your income." I don't remember everything I said next, just that I laughed, maybe for the first time in weeks, and that I thanked her more times than I can count. That night I told Karen the news. She gave me that same smirk again, that little half-smile that said, "I'm 10 steps ahead of you. No congratulations. No, that's great." Just a shrug. And "Oh, so you're working under her now?" Yeah. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't temporary. She was done. Maybe emotionally, maybe physically, maybe both. Whatever we had, it was already over in her mind. Later that week, Lily came over for dinner. We walked to the little lake near my house and fed ducks like we used to. She looked up at me and said, "You seem different, like you're carrying something heavy." I nodded, not knowing what to say. Then she added, "You don't have to pretend with me, Dad. I know stuff sucks right now, but I still think you're awesome." She hugged me. No drama. Just that quiet, honest love that only a kid can give without needing anything in return. And right then, for the first time in days, I actually believed her. Thing about rock bottom is you think you've hit it until someone hands you a shovel. I figured the worst part was over. I'd lost my job. My wife acted like it was a mild inconvenience. But Erin, my assistant, scratch that, my friend, had pulled me back from the edge with her surprise phone call. She didn't just offer support. She put her reputation on the line to get me rehired, but I had no idea just how far she'd gone. The next day, I showed up with my box of desk stuff, thinking I'd quietly slide into a lower title role under Erin's leadership. I was expecting a little awkwardness, maybe some looks. What I got instead was silence. People didn't know what to say. Most of them knew I'd been tossed out like trash just days before. Now here I was again, like nothing happened. Erin met me at the door with a cup of coffee and a look that said, "Don't say anything. I've got this." And she did. Apparently, when Jason Vickers tried to play hardball with her, offering her the job at a lower salary and cutting benefits for my new position, she snapped. Not publicly. Not with yelling. No, Erin didn't raise her voice. She just walked into his office, dropped a forward resignation note on his desk, and walked out. Then she started packing her things. It worked. The guy panicked. Turns out, Vickers didn't actually know how to run our group. Without us, the entire technical publications team would stall. So he caved. Erin got a raise. I got bumped back to a fair wage, full-time, full benefits. In less than 48 hours, she flipped the script on the same guy who'd tossed me out like old printer paper. She told me all of this over lunch that day. I just stared at her. "Why would you do that?" I asked. She looked at me and said, "Because someone needed to, and because you've always treated me with respect." Rick. That still means something. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. That night, I walked through the door feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Like maybe everything wasn't completely broken. Karen didn't even look up from her phone. "I'm back at work," I said. "Erin got me rehired." She nodded. "She your boss now?" "On paper," I said. "Huh," Karen muttered. "Interesting." That was it. "No, I'm glad." No smile. No warmth. Just a tone. Cold and distant. The same tone you use when someone tells you their dog died and you're just trying to get through the conversation. I set the mail on the counter and stared at her, hoping she'd at least make eye contact. She didn't. Her eyes were locked on the screen, probably scrolling through vacation photos or flights or whatever the hell she worked on in the travel office. I wanted to ask who she was texting at night, who she was talking to at 3:12 a.m. But I didn't. Not yet. I wasn't ready to know the answer. Not really. Instead, I cleaned up, cooked dinner, and sat alone at the table. Karen said she wasn't hungry. Again. Lily called later that evening. Just hearing her voice lifted something in my chest. We talked about school, some dumb prank at lunch, and her upcoming soccer game. Before she hung up, she asked if I was okay. I lied. After I hung up, I went upstairs. Karen was in the bathroom. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I didn't pick it up, but I looked at the screen. Just one word from whoever she'd been texting for the last few weeks. Now, it went unanswered. When she came out, I was in bed, pretending to sleep again. It was becoming a habit. She slid under the covers, turned her back to me, and let out a long sigh. I stared at the ceiling for hours. Something was coming. I could feel it. And Erin? She was the only one still fighting for me. Some people fight. Some cry. Some scream their way through a breakup. Karen? She just poured a drink and ended our marriage like it was a business transaction. It was a Thursday night. I remember that clearly because I had just come back from Lily's school. She'd drawn a picture of the two of us flying kites, and I had it folded in my back pocket. That drawing would end up meaning more to me than the entire 6 years I spent married to Karen. She came home late. Again. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a box of pizza and the house mostly dark. She walked in like nothing was wrong. Heels clicking, purse slung over one arm, and that same fake smile she'd been wearing for months. Then she saw me, and something shifted. Without saying a word, she grabbed a glass, reached into the cabinet, and pulled out a bottle of bourbon, the kind we only brought out for guests. She poured 2 fingers neat, then sat across from me at the table. She didn't look at me. She stared down into the glass like it was a script she had to memorize. Then she finally spoke. "Rick, we need to talk." For words. The universal warning shot. I didn't say anything. I just waited. She took a sip, then said it, flat, calm, like it was a formality. I'm filing for divorce. Just like that. Not a fight. Not a tear. Just a cold ending to what used to be everything. I blinked. Wait, what? I already spoke to a lawyer, she continued. It's a no-fault state. All I have to claim is irreconcilable differences. Karen. What the hell are you talking about? She looked at me like I'd asked what 2 plus 2 was. Like I was the idiot in the room. Come on, Rick. You can't say you didn't see this coming. No, I said. Actually, I can. I thought we were working through it. I thought we had something worth saving. She scoffed. You want to save this? Rick, we're boring. You don't do anything. You talk. You read. You walk. You want sex and leftovers and bedtime by 10. I want fun. I want nightlife. I want to feel alive again. So you're leaving me because… What? I don't party enough. I'm leaving because I'm done, she said, and stood up like that was the final word. I've packed a few things. I'll come back this weekend for the rest. I'm staying with a friend until then. I stood there stunned. My throat locked up. My hands were shaking. A friend. She paused half a second too long. Yes, a friend. And then she left. No bags of guilt. No long goodbye. Just keys jingling and the front door clicking shut. I sat back down at the table. The pizza was cold. The bourbon bottle was half empty. Her glass still had a lipstick print. I don't remember how long I sat there. Eventually, I picked up my phone. My hand hovered over Erin's name. Before I could hit call, it rang. It was her. She didn't even say hello. Are you okay? I exhaled. No. I'll be there in 20. And she was. She showed up in a hoodie, hair pulled back, no makeup, and a bag of chocolate chip cookies under one arm. She walked in like she lived there, dropped the bag, and pulled me into the kind of hug you don't realize you need until you're already in it. I broke down. Right there. In my own damn kitchen. No yelling. No punching walls. Just raw, silent pain. The kind that only comes when you've been holding it in too long. I'm such an idiot, I said into her shoulder. No, she whispered. You're someone who believed in his marriage. That doesn't make you stupid. It makes you human. We moved to the couch. Talked. Ate cold pizza. At some point, I started talking about Lily. How much I missed her already. How I didn't know what I'd tell her. You tell her the truth, Erin said. That you're hurting. That you're figuring it out. And that you still love her. Always. She stayed until after midnight. Never made a move. Never crossed a line. Just stayed. And when she left, the apartment felt a little less cold. Some people say hindsight is 20/20. That's a damn lie. Hindsight is like watching a slow-motion car crash. You somehow convinced yourself wasn't happening until the bumper's already on the floor. The first full week after Karen left was rough. I kept expecting the door to open, for her to come back, to say she was sorry or even just scream at me. Anything that made it feel real. But she didn't come back. Not that night. Not the next one. Not ever. The weird part was, I didn't even miss her. Not really. I missed the idea of her. The version of Karen I thought I married. Not the one who walked out without a tear. Erin checked in every day. Sometimes it was texts. Sometimes she'd swing by after work, always with food. Always with that calm energy that kept me from spiraling. One night, we were sitting on the couch. I was flipping through my old planner. Not sure why. Just something to do. That's when Erin asked something that stuck with me. Did things change? Physically? Like, was she still affectionate toward the end? I paused. Sort of. It was weird, actually. Like, really inconsistent. What do you mean? Well, some weeks she was all over me. Like the old days. Passionate. Into it. Then the next week, cold as ice. Zero interest. She tilted her head. That happened more than once? Yeah. It was like clockwork. Hot one week, distant the next. I thought it was stress or hormones. I didn't want to push. Erin sat back. That's not random, Rick. That's a pattern. I thought about that. I flipped through more pages of my planner. I used to jot little notes, Nothing graphic, just symbols or marks when we were intimate. I'm a technical guy. I log things. This is what I do. We started piecing it together. The cold weeks? They always lined up with something. Karen saying she was working late, or traveling, or too tired. The hot weeks? Almost always right after one of those stretches. I stared at the dates. Holy hell, it's like clockwork. Yeah, Aaron said quietly, because it probably is. You think she was cheating during those other weeks. I think she was having her cake and eating it too. When her lover was around, she didn't need you. When he wasn't, you were the backup. It hit like a punch to the ribs. Not just the idea of being cheated on, but being secondary. Placeholder. Someone she used to fill the silence until her real plans resumed. I should have seen it, I muttered. I knew something was off. No, Aaron said. Don't do that. You trusted her. That's not a flaw. That's what marriage is supposed to be. She was right, but it didn't make it hurt less. That night after she left, I stayed up going back through old entries. Meetings, dinners, date nights. The ones she canceled. The ones she forgot. It all started forming a web I hadn't realized I was tangled in. And somewhere in the middle of all that scribbling, I remembered something. A name. She had mentioned him in passing once. Casual. Quick. During dinner. Randy Carter stopped by the office today, she'd said. Like it meant nothing. I didn't think anything of it. Randy was a sales rep. Big personality, traveled all the time. I'd seen his name on department emails, but never met him. Karen had worked with him back in her travel planning days. Clicked. What if it's him? I said aloud to no one. The next day, I asked Erin if she knew Randy. Her face tightened. Not personally, but I've heard the stories. What kind of stories? She hesitated. Let's just say. He's known for mixing business with pleasure. And he travels a lot, right? Pretty much every other week. Why? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Erin saw the look on my face and nodded slowly. Rick, I think we just found him. Affairs don't always start with passion. Sometimes they start with a saved number that never gets deleted. A name that lingers in a phone longer than it should. Randy Carter. I couldn't stop repeating it in my head. The guy had always just been background noise to me. A name on a memo, a voice on speaker during conference calls, one of those slick sales guys who could sell air in a bottle and make you thank him for it. But now he had a new title, the man my wife left me for. I didn't have proof. Not yet. But the more I talked to Erin, the more I saw it. The late-night texts, the timing, the cold and hot cycle in bed, the growing distance, the fake friend she moved in with. She never had friends. Not the kind you crash with. That Friday night, Erin came over again. She had a small stack of papers with her and that same serious look she always wore when she was about to tell me something I wouldn't want to hear. Okay, she said. Here's what I know. She sat down across from me and laid out Randy's travel schedule, at least what she could piece together from her contacts in sales. The overlaps were almost perfect. Every cold week, every excuse about being too tired or working late. It all synced with weeks Randy was in town. He worked a multi-state territory, flew in for a few days at a time, then vanished for another week or two. Like clockwork. She was syncing up with him, I said, my voice low. She had a system, Erin added. It made me sick. The planning, the calculation, how easily she moved around me like I was a fixture in her schedule. Something to ignore or use depending on availability. But the worst part wasn't just that she was cheating. It was when it started. Because Erin asked the question I was too scared to voice. Do you think this started before you two were married? I didn't answer. I just sat back and let the air drain out of the room. Karen and Randy worked together before she ever transferred into my department. She was his travel coordinator for a couple years, handled all his bookings, flights, hotel arrangements. The job that put her back in touch with him? That wasn't random. That was by choice. What if it never ended? What if she married me as the backup plan? The safe option while she waited to see if Randy ever got serious? I felt sick. I walked over to the window, hands on my head, trying not to break something. Erin stayed quiet. She didn't try to comfort me right away. She just let it land. When I finally turned around, I asked her the question I hadn't asked anyone yet. Not even myself out loud. Why would she do this? Why not just leave me years ago? Erin didn't hesitate. Because you were reliable. You paid the bills. You made life easy. And when Randy wasn't around, she got to come home to someone steady. You were her safety net. I looked at her. And when she thought I lost my job, she dropped you, Erin said. Because she thought the net was gone. That was it. Karen didn't leave because she was unfulfilled. She left because she thought she didn't need me anymore. She had Randy, and she had freedom, and she thought I had nothing left. But she was wrong about that last part. I still had Lily. I still had Erin. I still had my damn spine. That night, after Erin left, I sat at my desk and stared at my computer. Not at job listings. Not at bank accounts. But at an old photo of me and Karen on vacation. We were in Puerto Rico. Smiling, drinks in hand. She was wearing sunglasses, but I could see it now. She wasn't looking at me. She was already looking past me. Already gone. It's one thing to be cheated on. It's another to realize you were never even plan A. That weekend I barely left the house. Couldn't. My body was there, but my brain was stuck in rewind. Replaying every red flag I'd ignored, every excuse I accepted. And now that I could see it clearly, it was so obvious it made me angry. This wasn't a fling. Karen hadn't just slipped. She had built a whole system. A life with me that ran in the background while she waited to see if Randy Carter ever gave her the green light. I was the fallback, the net. And when she thought that net had snapped, when I lost my job, she dropped me. Fast. I sat with that for a long time. Erin texted to check in. She always did. But I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't want to talk to her. I did. But I needed to sit in this part of it for a second. Feel it. Let the full weight settle so I could stop carrying it half hidden. Eventually, I texted back. You were right. I was her backup. She replied instantly. That doesn't make you weak. That makes her disgusting. That helped. A little. Sunday afternoon, Lily came over. We built a model airplane together in the garage like we used to do when she was little. She was careful, focused. She didn't ask about Karen. She just gave me time, like she knew I needed space without saying it. At one point she looked up and said, You don't have to be okay yet. 12 years old, and somehow wiser than most adults I know. That night I made a decision. No more waiting. No more wondering. If Karen was gone, she was gone. And I needed to start getting my life back in order. First up, money. I called the bank, froze the joint cards, rerouted my direct deposit. I wasn't about to let her siphon funds while living with another man. I also changed the locks. Call it symbolic. Call it closure. Either way, it felt damn good. And then, 2 days later, she showed up. No call. No warning. I was in the kitchen, reheating leftover pasta, when I heard a key try to turn the lock. Didn't work. A few seconds later, a knock. Not panicked. Calm. I opened the door. There she was, standing like nothing had happened. Hair tied up, sunglasses on her head, that same familiar handbag slung over one shoulder. I need to get a few more things, she said flatly. You could have texted, I replied, not moving from the doorway. She raised an eyebrow. I didn't think I needed permission to get my own stuff. You walked out, I said. You made that choice. So yeah, you do. She didn't argue, just stood there waiting. I finally stepped aside and let her in. She walked through the house like she still owned it. Straight to the bedroom, closet, bathroom drawers. And then she said it. You changed the locks. Yeah, I said. I figured the woman who left me for someone else doesn't need 24/7 access anymore. That made her pause. For the first time, I saw a crack in the armor. What are you talking about? Come on, Karen. We both know you didn't leave to stay with a friend. You left to be with him. Silence. Randy Carter, I added. Her face barely twitched. But that was enough. I don't know what you think you know, she said. That you've been cheating for months? Maybe longer? That this whole marriage was just a placeholder while you waited on a better offer. I expected her to blow up, deny, cry, something. Instead, she sighed. You're overreacting. That was it. That was her defense. Not a denial. Not even a real excuse. You used me, I said. And you thought I wouldn't notice. She grabbed a duffel bag and turned toward the door. You always were dramatic. No, I said quietly. I was loyal. She walked out without another word. And for the first time since she left, I didn't feel like the one who lost. People talk about hitting rock bottom like it's a moment. It's not. It's a season. But eventually, if you're lucky, it ends. The day after Karen's little visit, I woke up early. No alarm. Just opened my eyes and felt clear. Not happy. Not fixed. But steady. And after weeks of feeling like I was drowning in molasses, that was progress. I made coffee, folded laundry, cleaned the fridge. Nothing dramatic. Just normal stuff. It felt good to do something and finish it without hearing a passive-aggressive comment or cold silence echoing down the hallway. I didn't realize how heavy Karen's presence had been until she wasn't there to suck the air out of every room. Later that morning, Erin dropped by. I hadn't asked her to. She just showed up, with bagels and that calm, no-pressure vibe she always brought with her. You look better, she said, handing me a coffee. I feel functional, I replied. She smiled. That's a win. We ate in the backyard. The sun was out, and the neighborhood was quiet. After a while, I asked her something I hadn't had the guts to before. Why did you really go to bat for me at work? Couldn't just be loyalty. You risked your job for me. Erin didn't look away. Because I saw how they treated you, she said. And I knew you'd never ask anyone to step in. So I did. Because that's what people do when they care. It hit me in the chest. Not romantic. Not flirty. Just honest. And rare. We talked for hours that day. About work. About life. About how quiet betrayal can be when it's happening right under your nose. She told me she'd ended a relationship years ago with someone who did the same thing. Made her feel small, like she should be grateful just to be tolerated. You forget what being seen feels like, she said. Until someone actually does it again. I nodded. I knew exactly what she meant. That weekend, Lily came over. We went to the zoo. Ate too much ice cream. Laughed. She told me she wanted to build a treehouse this summer and that she was learning to code at school. At one point she reached for my hand and said, You're doing better. I'm trying, I said. You don't have to try for me, she said. You just have to be here. God, that kid. After I dropped her back at her mom's, I sat in the car for a while, just thinking, not brooding, not spiraling, just sitting with all of it. Karen was gone. Her game had played out. And yeah, it hurt, but I survived it. And I wasn't alone. That night I called Erin. Not for help. Not out of panic. Just because I wanted to hear her voice. Hey, she answered. Everything okay? Yeah, I said. I just wanted to say thank you for not letting me disappear. She was quiet for a moment, then said, You never disappeared, Rick. You were just standing in the wrong shadow. There's a silence that comes after pain. Not the numb kind. Not the I give up kind. It's the kind where everything finally stops spinning and you start seeing things clearly. That's where I was. It had been a couple of months since Karen walked out, and just a few weeks since she tried to casually stroll back in like nothing happened. The locks kept her out. The truth kept her gone. In that time, I started rebuilding, not just emotionally, but practically. I picked up a side gig consulting for a startup that needed help organizing their product documentation. It was nothing flashy, but it was mine. I set my own hours, made my own calls. After years of working under people like Vickers, it felt good to be in control again. Erin helped me get started. She offered to proofread, organize files, even connect me to her network. But more than that, she kept showing up with no expectations, no agenda. Just presence. We'd talk after work. Eat dinner together some nights. Sometimes she'd crash on the couch when it got too late to drive home. And still, we didn't cross that line. Not yet. One night, We were sitting on the back steps, sipping tea and listening to crickets. The air was warm, but not heavy. I told her how strange it felt to feel. Okay. I keep waiting for it to collapse, I said. Like this piece is temporary. It is, she said. Everything is. But that doesn't make it fake. I looked at her. The way she sat barefoot, one hand resting on her knee, her voice steady and unafraid. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to fix myself before loving someone again. Because somehow, she'd loved the broken parts the whole time. The next morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, can we talk? It was Karen. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then another one came through. I've been thinking. About us. About how fast everything moved. Maybe we should talk before the paperwork's final. There it was. The loop. The cycle of manipulation. She thought enough time had passed. Thought I'd be softer now. Thought the door might be cracked open. She didn't know I'd changed the locks in more ways than one. I didn't respond. Not out of anger, but because silence was finally an option. Later that night, Erin and I were cooking dinner. Something simple, just grilled veggies and pasta. We laughed about a show she'd been binging. I poured wine. She made fun of my taste in music. Then, as I was rinsing dishes, she touched my back. Just lightly, but it stopped me cold, in a good way. I turned. She looked up at me. Are we still pretending this is just friendship? I asked, not smiling, not joking. She didn't flinch. No, she said. And that was it. She leaned in. I leaned down. The kiss was simple. Honest. No fireworks, just oxygen. Like something overdue finally arriving. We didn't talk much after that. We just sat in it. Let it be real. No rush. Later that night, I scrolled through my phone. Karen's messages were still there. I deleted them. Then I turned my phone off. I looked over at Erin. She was already half asleep on the couch, her legs tucked under a blanket she brought from home. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. You don't always get closure. Sometimes all you get is clarity, and honestly, that's enough. A couple months after the night Erin and I stopped pretending, everything changed. The startup I'd been helping? It exploded. One of their tools got picked up by a major software platform. Suddenly, they needed full-time staff. Fast. They offered me a lead position, full autonomy, remote flexibility, stock options, and a salary 4 times higher than what I was making at Nexus Corp. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. I accepted, obviously. The job let me rebuild my savings, finally pay off old divorce expenses, and set up a fund for Lily's future. I even started mentoring junior tech writers again. Something I hadn't done since before Karen drained the life out of me. Erin was the first person I told. She didn't scream or cry or throw confetti. She just smiled, hugged me, and said, "Told you you were worth more." That hit deeper than any celebration could have. And yeah, by then we weren't playing coy anymore. We didn't need labels. But there was no doubt what we were. She stayed over more nights than not. My toothbrush lived at her place, and hers was always in my bathroom. Lily had started calling her E. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Then Karen called. Blocked number naturally. She left a voicemail. "Hey, I heard things are going really well for you, and I've been thinking a lot lately. I miss how we used to just be. Maybe we could meet for coffee. Just to talk." I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel anything. I played it once just to be sure I heard it right. Then deleted it. No callback. No reply. No coffee. Karen didn't want me. She wanted the life I'd rebuilt. The version of me that still had value. But that version, that man, he wasn't hers anymore. He never really was. And she was no longer part of his story. Funny thing is, I did run into her once. Grocery store parking lot. Total accident. She looked good, in that same overly polished way she always did. Designer bag. Perfect hair. But her face had changed. Softer. Or maybe more tired. She looked at me like she expected something. Anger. Sarcasm. A jab. But all I did was nod once, calm, and keep walking. That was it. The last goodbye. No fight. No fanfare. No drama. Because I didn't need a scene. I had peace. Now, I work from home. I take Lily to weekend robotics competitions and late-night burger runs. Erin and I cook together, laugh in the kitchen, leave dishes in the sink because we can. Karen was the storm that tore everything down. But Erin helped me build something better in its place. And maybe that's the real story here. Not about betrayal. Not even about revenge. It's about what happens after the damage is done. And who shows up when the dust finally settles.